Thatcher, we've got a problem.
Well, you know, as the landlord, I feel like it'd be in your best interest to keep feral animals out of your tower. You know, no pet policy and all.
Fine. I'll pack me bags and be on me way.
Thanks. Hi there, it's lovely to be with you. I've got time to kill and Bubsy to slay. No, not in that way. I've got a bit of a homicidal history with that mammal over there, hence all the detergent and extras back here. Whoa, YouTuber and drama, what else is new? Anyway, while I wait for pest control to arrive, let me give you a bit of backstory. The year is 2018 and I, sounding like an asthmatic chihuahua, made a couple of jovial jabs towards one Bubsy v Bobcat.
Throughout the entire game I recall being stunned by the genius of the level design twice.
Yeah, don't worry, that's not a bomb siren, that's just how I used to sound. I was quite harsh, I'll admit. It's not the best game, but it ain't like genocide levels of bad, you know? Sometime later, Choice Provisions, the developers of the Bit Trip series, created a rhythm-based sequel, and it was fine. Nowhere near as erratically charming as their usual titles, using their own properties, but inoffensively playable at the very least. After that, Accolade, the company behind Bubsy, went into a bit of a slumber. They promoted a Kickstarter for DLC to this already complete rhythm game prior to launch. It failed, and after a brief promotional run of the final released base game with no future updates, Bubsy disappeared again. But hey, the masses were prepared this time. Before this was a 21-year gap between Bubsy 3D, a PlayStation 1 exclusive, and Bubsy v Woolies Strike Back, a PlayStation 4 console exclusive. You could only assume his second absence was due to being assassinated for preemptively leaving witness protection. Yeah, I for one consider it an act of charity. Making direct contact with his origins eluded me for so long, but I guess exposure's the best form of defense, right? Don't expect my landlord to do anything. Gilly Thatcher. You know, his name's Gilly Thatcher, and all he does is drink a cider called Thatcher's. By that logic, he's probably too much of a pussy to deal with a pussy. It's my lucky day! Despite his hiatus, the first two Bubsy games were ported as a pair to computers in 2015. I mean, ported is a strong word, it's actually just a Super Nintendo emulator with a fancy bow. Either way, it hasn't earned the respect of my neck yet. As much as I hate the convenience, it's a good thing I'm playing the game through a computer, because it means I can pull up a web browser alongside the emulator in case I need a walkthrough or restraining order against Bubsy.
What could possibly go wrong?
Oh mate, shut up. So, let's get going. That's a high jump, and I've got some good speed going right now. Hey! I'm dead! No, it was my fault. I was talking, I was going too fast. I should respect this level as a tutorial and give it my full attention. Slowing down this time. I feel wrong, like there's this tree bouncing me up to some yarn balls, this game's arbitrary collectible, and I can jump onto enemies to destroy them, but it feels like such a contrast to a few moments ago. Is this game about precision or going fast? I don't think you can have both with the screen space this game gives. And frankly, I don't know what the game prefers. I hear a lot of people call it Mario platforming with Sonic the Hedgehog speed, but I kind of disagree. Levels are structured around alternative paths, more Sonic-like than anything, but rather than feeling interconnected, it just seems like you're suddenly abandoning one level for a totally different level. It's like getting food from McDonald's and the drink from a petrol pump. They combine into one meal, but one is clearly redundant because, like, you can taste the food anymore. My perspective is that you take the lowest path for the sake of being fast, but can take the slower alternative routes if you're so inclined. It's not like you're rewarded for either choice, but it can cater to different playstyles, which I appreciate. I can guarantee you the level designers didn't consider the choice this deeply. I like the slower routes because I find going fast an eye strain more than anything, and it's nice to actually take in the world's colourful graphics, although let me assure you that while this game does admittedly look like a flourished hand-drawn cartoon, that Bobcat is a catfish. Its bouncy animation and vibrant palettes are an extension of the white noise this whole experience is in practice. That might sound absurd to you as an onlooker, but with the controller in hand too, well, I hope you have a quick draw, friend, otherwise I'll see you on the other side. The screen is way way too small and cluttered to react to enemies or hazards with how fast Bubsy can get, and you'll be delighted to know how many hits Bubsy gets in his lifetime. Let's just say between 0.9 and 1.1. Yep, one hit death. The game compensates a little by having 9 lives from the start, but you know, they only did that as a cultural reference rather than a gameplay quirk, because the time between demise and being back on the move is just as long as it takes for the pain of a soft punch to wear out in real life. Right, hang on, are you ready for this? They've got to applaud the animation though, it really does feel like a cartoon, but I wish they didn't prioritise that over gameplay, because without the right balance of both, there's no real opportunity to appreciate either without rattling off the flaws of one another. I'm overwhelmed trying to comprehend what I'm looking at is what I'm saying. That's not good. Also, let's talk about controls, because sometimes Bubsy feels like a one-bladed helicopter in a harsh wind. When Bubsy jumps, it's unfortunately frequent that he'll drift to the side. It's off-putting, disorienting, but hopefully that's the worst thing, because it could only go up from there. Otherwise, Bubsy has a jump. Big whoop, so does my mate Ryan. Who's Ryan? Exactly. More interestingly, he has a glide, which is a bit fiddly. From a massive bout of speed, you can grip some good airtime. Put nothing into it, and you don't blame me that you tried it once and didn't get results. Glide from nothing in reverse, and your speed likewise loops back around to max, but try again the same way forward and just nothing. I think fall speed is directly proportional to your horizontal speed when gliding. Did I just die to a gumball dispenser? Gumball challenge! That's my patented core mechanic rambling out of the way. Let's buckle up for an adventure, eh? Because the visuals do enough for my point. The second level has a cheeky waterfall at the start, hinting about secrets below, which frankly I'm entitled to at this stage of the diagnosis. Just being bullied is my condition, for those wondering. What? Did I just take 4 damage? In a platforming game? So the gliding was, like, needed, but it doesn't change anything in the context other than you don't die? Why not just remove the fall damage? And this isn't just me trying to be cheeky and exploiting the level's layout. I took 4 damage in the first level too during no frills attached gameplay. And I won't always have making a big ambitious jump in mind. Sometimes I'll think I'm genuinely fine and plummet through the ground because actually it's my fault for not clutching an extra button that I guess prevents that. On the opposite side of the spectrum, I swear I jumped high enough to clip that ledge, but no, I fall into an upstream waterfall and I don't like it. Then I was unamused with how little speed Bubsy gets uphill, so I start to take the roof path instead and... Yep, give me a second. You can never be over-prepared. These water slides, let me give them credit, occasionally set you up to bounce off an enemy, but with a well-timed glide, you can keep the momentum going to fly over half of the level like a fart in the wind. And then I got a well-timed jump to keep it going, and it got me going long enough to beat the level without breaking my own wind, and I felt exhilarated. Yeah, each Bubsy. So, you know, sometimes that air drift comes to good use, but not in the third level where now the game suddenly is centered around precise platforming, and if you're just a couple of pixels off, you may as well be in Albuquerque, Doc.
No, but like you actually like saw that, like it literally went through the platform, like all sort with that.
What I'm learning from this experience is to stay grounded, because anything and everything is going to make you plummet into water, including said ground. So I think there's intergroundal tensions going on between these platforms, because I have a bit of an allegiance with this one bit of dirt, and then... Okay, so this shirt represents an extra life. I suppose layers of clothing constitute lives here. Get it a bit dirty from an enemy, or wet, and you lose a life. Makes sense to me. What doesn't make sense is falling through solid terrain. I don't like level 3, neither does the glide, because the one sound mechanic in this game just broke on me. Sometimes, that's my keyword of the day, you sign. Sometimes you can jump and land safely, but sometimes you can't. Sometimes you can glide, and sometimes the screen will actually scroll with you. Sometimes you drift in the air, but most of the time, you don't. You know, the only thing that does work consistently to my favour is the final grasslands level ends with a boss fight that safely allows you to jump on it even while it's not actually vulnerable, grants you enough air control to keep bouncing between it and its cohort, and the aliens peek out of their saucer and then die in just 2 hits each. In any other game as a fun stage hazard, I wouldn't mind bouncing between a couple of floating space scrotums this way, because it's provided the slightest bit of genuine well-meant fun I've had this entire experience, and that's a horrible problem.
Mate, that's a big crap, that is.
Yes, thank you, I'm awake. Gilly! Bloody hell, knock, man. Also, what was that thing you said about bags on the phone? You're not planning to kill the pest at my door and body bag it here, are you?
That's right, mate. I'm moving in. Mate, what rancid drain pipe did this come from? Do you think it's acceptable to bring this piss water into my apartments?
Y'all grow up, don't have a go at me for bringing a different brand of cider into the kitchen. Which, by the way, I got 4 cans of Thatcher's right here by my side, and you think my allegiance is with the one I leave at the kitchen counter. Which, by the way, was here when I moved in, and I figure, you know, don't tamper with any property left here by the landlord, which is you, and speaking of, you're not moving in with me.
Oh yeah? By the way, mate, I've left all my stuff in the corridor, alcove, whatever you want to call it. I'll move it at some point when I can be bothered like. But anyway, yeah, back to my old tenant. I hung him because he brought this in. Don't worry about it though, I know this isn't yours. You wouldn't do that to me now, would you? It's not your fault. Anyway, it's probably best if we burn the evidence, you know what I mean? You know, in retrospect, not only was you part of the problem, you are the problem, and now me last standing building, me legacy, is worth nothing more than the gob that comes out your mouth. The same thing that got us here, because you can't stand the big TV rat game.
It's a Bobcat, actually.
Well, you know, I would have loved to live in my own flat, but I couldn't vomit up the keys until I saw a sight as revolting as you. No gag reflex could ever recreate the thoughts that were put in me brain upon seeing your face. Truth be told, the only reason I gave you the house is so I could get me tax payments back. Consider it a charity case, care in the community. And it was dead easy as well, considering how you act, mate. God, mother damn. The Bobcat game isn't even that good, and it's been like, what, 2 minutes since the last sneaky little white kid said something like that to a camera. Who told you? Normal Shoe, the angry video player bloke, hidden body.
Hey, Gilly. I don't know what I'm doing. I always indulged in this stuff as a kid, and I loved it, and I loved seeing other people's silly videos, and I strived to be a part of it when I grew up. And I did it! It took me the best part of a decade to get here, but I did it! Yes, I've matured with age, so has my understanding for this passion. I did what I wanted to do when I was younger, and it was great! But then I never ventured further than what that little kid wanted. And I think I've burned myself out on life in the process. I rot away piece by piece. I'll always have this desire for drivel. It's what I want to pursue, but if I'm going to keep doing this, I need to do it in a way that's just not part of a status quo, and a rather dated one at that.
Have you tried prolapsing your ass on one of those live stream things and calling someone a... I mean, you'd get a bunch of backlash off it, but at least I'd find it funny, seeing you go through hell after everything you've put me through.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me a place to live out my childhood dream and taking it away from me on the cusp of perpetuating myself to an eternity in the editing room. I did really love it there, but yeah, it was getting kind of stale.
Is that it then? Off you trot for an hour or two until you fall in a pothole and die of some diabolical terminology like starving or the common cold. You know what? Maybe you'll piss yourself, and you'll piss so much that it floods and gets all over you, and you'll drown in urine, piss, and your own tears.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't really have a plan beyond entering the unknown, and I can't even guarantee I'll take things one step at a time. But I'm excited for whatever comes up, like a flower! And I promise somewhere along the way, I'll make it up to you for your apartment complex being blown up. By you.
Fine, mate. Good luck on your epic adventure or whatever.
Seriously. Thank you.